Alright, so today we are going to be solving some inequalities. It's going to be just like solving regular one-step equations, but now we're going to be having an inequality instead of an equal sign. So just a little bit of helpful information. When you are solving for an inequality, make sure that the variable is on the left side of the inequality before you start solving. Make sure the variable is on the left side before you start solving. It's just going to help you in the long run. So if you look at the example on the bottom where it says 8 is greater than x plus 3, you want to move this x plus 3 over to the left side so that when you write it, it would be x plus 3 is less than 8. Notice that the inequality, it looks like it's a mouth that's trying to eat the 8. Make sure that it's still trying, it's facing towards the 8. So in this one, we would rewrite it as x divided by 4 should be over to the left. And then since the first one says 16 is less than or equal to x divided by 4, you need to flip the signs to make it look like x divided by 4 is greater than or equal to 16. Again, we're doing this just because it will help you when you have to graph these inequalities. So here's the main point. If we are adding or subtracting to solve an inequality, just treat this just like a regular equation. So remember, if it's just x plus 5 is equal to 12, what's the one thing that we're supposed to do? Always add the opposite. Always add the opposite. So what's the opposite of plus 5? Opposite of that is minus 5. So subtract 5 to both sides, and x is greater than whatever, and 12 minus 5 is equal to 7. Now off to the right, now we have y minus 3 is less than 6. So what's the opposite of minus 3? Opposite of minus 3 is plus 3. So add 3 to both sides. So y is less than 9. Pretty simple, just solve it as a regular equation. So what does this all mean? So when we solve this, we just subtract 5, x is greater than 7. So now we know that x is greater than 7, but what does this mean? So just think about it. If you have our number line, and if we have 7, we know that everything has to be greater, that the answer has to be greater than 7. So now we can put in any number that's greater than 7 for x, and then this inequality is still going to be true. So let's think about it. What's a number greater than 7? Well, let's try 8. What is 8 plus 5? 8 plus 5 is 13. Is 13 greater than 12? Yes, it is. So it's a true inequality. What about the number 18? 18 plus 5 is 23. So is 23 greater than 12? Yes. So that means that this is still a true inequality. We can't put the number 7 here because 7 plus 5 is not greater than 12. It's greater than or equal to 12. So that's why we're not including this 7, but any number greater than 7 will work. So if we can get 8, 9, 10, 11, so on and so on. Any number greater than 7 will make this a true inequality. So now let's try to solve these inequalities. We have two examples. The first one, this is a b, not a 6. So b plus 20 is greater than 33. How do we solve for b? What is the opposite of plus 20? The opposite of plus 20 is minus 20. So subtract 20 to both sides. So B is greater than 33 minus 20 is equal to 13. And 13, B is greater than 13 is our final answer. So now what I want you to do is to pause the video, try this one off to the right, and unpause the video when you're ready to see what I have done. Okay, we have x minus 9 and 3/10 is less than or equal to 12 and 5/10. The opposite of subtraction is addition, so I'm going to add 9 and 3/10 to both sides. When we do that, we get x is less than or equal to 21 and 8/10. And that is our final answer. So now that was addition and subtraction. Addition and subtraction, treat it as a normal equation. Now, moving on to multiplication. This is where it gets a little tricky. If you are multiplying a positive number, just treat it as a regular equation. So, if it's a positive number, treat it as just a regular equation. So, if we have 4x is greater than 40, remember this, when we say 4x, it's 4 times x. So what's the opposite of times x? You have to divide by 4 on both sides. When you do that, the 4's cancel out on the left, and x is greater than 40 divided by 4, that is equal to 10. So x is greater than 10 is the final answer. Now off to the right, we have x divided by 4. I don't want you to say x over 4, because when you say over 4, it's not denoting a mathematical operation. So this is divided by 4. So x divided by 4 is less than 3. Now what's the opposite of divided by 4? It's to multiply by 4. So if you multiply by 4 on both sides, the 4's cancel out on the left. X is greater than 3 times 4, 12. Sorry, x is less than 12 is our final answer. So now we have two examples here. We have the first one, 18 is greater than 2/3 x. So remember, I like to rewrite it where the variable is off to the left. So I'm just going to rewrite it real quick. We have 2/3 x is less than 18. So now, let's see here. We have 2/3 times x. So to get x by itself, remember, we have to do the multiplicative identity, or we have to multiply by the reciprocal of 2/3. So what's the reciprocal of 2/3? That is 3 over 2. So if you multiply 3 over 2 on the left, multiply 3 over 2 on the right. On the left, these cancel out, and all you have left is x is less than. Now we have 18 times 3 over 2, or 3 divided by 2. So remember, to solve that, how do you write 18 as a fraction? 18 over 1. And you multiply 3 over 2. Remember, you can cross simplify. So 18 and 2 can be simplified. 2, both of these can be divided by 2. So 18 divided by 2 is 9. 2 divided by 2 is 1. Multiply straight across. 9 times 3 is 27. 1 times 1 is 1. So, remember, 27 over 1 is basically the exact same as 27. So when we multiply 18 times 3 over 2, our answer is 27. And this is what our final answer to the problem is. X is less than 27. So now what I want you to do is to pause the video, try this one for yourself, and unpause the video when you're ready to see what I have done. Okay, so we have 20 is less than 4t. I'm just going to rewrite it, again, just to show 4t is greater than 20, because I like having the variable off to the left. That's just my preference. So I'm going to divide by 4, because the opposite of multiplication is division. When we divide by 4, we get t is greater than 5. And this is our final answer. Alright, now, so this slide is extremely, extremely important. So, please pay attention. If you're multiplying or dividing by a negative number, treat it as a regular equation like usual, but you must flip the sign. You must flip the inequality sign. If you have multiplying or dividing by a negative number, flip the sign. So, for example, we have negative 8x is greater than 24. If we see, we are going to divide by a negative 8. When we divide by a negative 8 on both sides, we still have our x, but now we have to look at the sign. It is a greater than sign. We must flip the sign, so that'll be a less than. So we flip the sign. So 24 divided by a negative 8 is equal to a negative 3. So x is less than negative 3. Here's another one. We have x divided by 5 is less than or equal to 3. So in the book, you will see that there's a negative sign off to the left. This negative sign can either go with the x or it can go with the 5. I always recommend the negative sign going with the denominator, wherever the number is. So if we have x divided by 5, the opposite of divided by is to be multiplied. So we're going to multiply by a negative 5 on both sides. Now we're multiplying a negative, and when you multiply a negative, remember you must flip the sign. Important. So 3 times a negative 5 is equal to a negative 15. So our final answer is x is greater than a negative 15. Alright, so I'm going to do the first one, you're going to do the second one. So the first one, we have 3/4 is less than negative 7/5 times x. So remember, I like to rewrite it where the variable is off to the left. So we then will have negative 7/5 x is greater than 3/4. Now, to get x by itself, remember you must multiply by the reciprocal. So the reciprocal of 7/5 is negative 5/7. Remember, so if we multiply negative 5/7 on the left, must multiply negative 5/7 on the right. So these cancel out. Remember, we're multiplying by a negative. If you multiply by a negative, what do you do with the sign? You must flip the sign. So when we multiply 3/4 and negative 5/7, we know that the answer is going to be negative, so I'm just going to put that negative sign right there. Now, 3 and 7 can't be simplified, 4 and 5 can't be simplified, so let's just multiply straight across. 3 times 5 is 15, and 4 times 7 is 28. So our final answer is x is less than negative 15/28. Alright, so what I want you to do, pause the video, try the one off to the right, and unpause the video when you're ready to see what I've done. Okay, now we have x divided by a negative 4 is less than or equal to a negative 6. Now remember, this is divided by. To get x by itself, you must do the opposite of divided by, which is multiply a negative 4. Multiply negative 4. So if you do that on both sides, remember we have x, but we just multiplied by a negative number, so we must flip the sign. So negative 6 times a negative 4 is equal to a positive 24. So our answer is x is greater than or equal to 24. So time for a review. So if we are solving inequalities, you solve them just like regular equations, unless you are multiplying or dividing a negative number. This is so important. If you are multiplying or dividing by a negative number, you flip the inequality sign for the negative number. Extremely important. If you do need a little bit more help, look in the comments section below. I've attached 3 other videos that you might find helpful. Good luck. I'm sure y'all gonna do perfectly fine on this.